Hakuna Matata, everyone, and welcome to the Business Legends podcast, where we interview business leaders and entrepreneurs so that you can learn from their mistakes, pump up your own inspiration, and grow your bottom line. We've had a super silly morning over here, and my name is Reese, the host of the show, along with the CEO of Business Marketing Solutions Group, my best pal in the world, Christian Webb. Say what's up!
Can't wait for y'all to check out this badass shirt I'm wearing.
So Christian, for those of you that are listening in, Christian is wearing a penguin shirt, and I'm going to be staring at it all day. So if you find that I'm distracted on this cast, you'll know why. Today we are accompanied by our good friend Mr. Matthieu French, aka Chewbacca. Say what's up in your best way. That is the best intro we have ever had on Business Legends. Thank
I like
you
to make an impression.
You have succeeded, my friend. Matthieu here. Works at UNC Charlotte as a career advisor / counselor / master of the universe. Matthieu, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, fellas, thank you for having me. I've had a blast this morning, so I'm excited to get into some topics.
You're gonna have to teach me how to do the Chewbacca roar. I mean, absolutely perfect. It
was a God-given gift. I feel like
it's something you're just born with. Like you can't.
I can't teach it. You know, I heard it on a McDonald's commercial when I was a kid, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. And then I just started doing it.
And you've been doing it for 20 years now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so you've had 20 years of practice on these, what you're getting.
I walk around our office and do it. I do it in presentations.
Oh my God.
Like act like you're coughing and making sure.
Yeah.
I did like a parrot noise.
I know. I was like, was that a pigeon?
I give up. Well, I'm no good at it, I suppose. So UNC Charlotte. So Matthieu, why don't you cover a little bit about how you got into career advisement particularly, and then we'll kind of touch into what it's like on a day-to-day basis.
Sure, man. Yeah. So what I do at UNC Charlotte is I do career advising with students, so helping them figure out where they want to go in life, all that fun stuff. But what I've really been focusing on recently is helping employers. So everything from your large 500 corporation, whatever, to your entrepreneurial starting out, to nonprofits. Getting connected with students, branding with students, getting that talent. Right now is a job seekers market, so it's super competitive trying to find good talent with the skills they're looking for. I kind of got into career advising. I was a communication major, undergrad, graduate degree. I was like, well, I don't know what to do with my comm major, so I'll go to grad school.
I don't think your plight is particularly abnormal there. I think a lot of people struggle with finding.
You were really good at communication?
Yeah.
I know, right? My dad was always like, why are you going to learn how to talk?
You? Learning how to talk? Like
I know. I was like, it's more than that, I promise. So I went to grad school, and my first graduate degree or graduate assistantship was with my career center.
Okay.
Event planning, helping students, helping employers. I just kind of fell into it and went to New York for a little bit, did career advising up there, did some social media stuff on the side as a side gig, and then came down to Charlotte because New York was killing my soul.
Yes.
So, I'm a country boy at heart.
I've heard that before. You know, I've heard that the plights of New York are pretty difficult to manage on a day-to-day basis.
I like grass. I want a tree, and no matter what anyone says, Central Park is not real. It is all man-made. I'm like, this is not real grass.
Yeah. It's just
plastic trees.
Just a big green turf in the middle of New York City. Well, cool, man. So career advisement, job seekers market, and all of the above, and all these interesting details. Now, do you spend a lot of time, just out of curiosity, do you spend a lot of time pairing students with employers, or with employers to students, or all the above?
So it depends. So traditionally, people's idea of a career center is a placement office, right? So
Sure.
Career centers will place students with us. So we do not place. Most career centers have done a lot of branding to be like, the word placement is a bad word.
Right.
So what we do is we really help with the branding strategy and the connections. So everything from doing career mixing events, asking our employers what types of students are you looking for, and then we connect it. So traditionally, we'll see a lot of employers say, we're looking for business students. Whenever a lot of the positions they're hiring for could also take in psychology, communications, other liberal arts traditionally majors. And so what's really cool is we kind of help expand employers' thoughts about the skill sets they need. But then we also ask our students, hey, what employers do you want to work with? They always give the big name brands,
of course,
but then we ask them for types of employers, right?
Yeah.
So, or types of company cultures. And then that way, when we're talking with employers, we can get a little bit more like, most students are looking for a company that gives back to the community. So what we'll do is we'll go out, and as I'm talking to new employers, I'll be like, do you guys do anything to give back to the community? Because that's more information I can use to educate students.
Yeah. Do you find that just on kind of to piggyback on that topic, do you find that you end up pairing students a lot of times with the values of a company? So not just the position or the job title, but maybe the values.
Is that me?
It's me.
I broke a rule.
No, it's me. Oh, it's you. Oh, it's you.
Dude, I never broke a rule.
Everybody boo.
If
Chris.
this was my boo, if this was my class,
Chewbacca
I would
says
make
boo.
him get up and I would
Chewbacca
make him
says
answer it.
10 push-ups. Chewbacca says boo, boo.
Hello, is this
Chewbacca?
Luke Skywalker?
How do you boo as Chewbacca? Can you do that?
Ooh, I don't know how I do
He
it.
tried.
Give me a homework assignment.
I know, I have to figure it out.
Yo, but in that ring, I found the title of this podcast though: How to Be Attractive to Interns and new hires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It's probably a good one.
One thing that's really interesting about career advisement counseling to me is that you're handling B2B and B2C at the exact same time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're handling employer to employee and you're handling employee to employer at the same time. And so you're that interim. So before we were so rudely interrupted by Penguin Man over
My
here.
feelings are hurt.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Luke Skywalker's trying to return.
Hey. It was, thank you. You just completely broke me there. I was starting to think about like a Return of the Jedi joke type of thing, and then it just fell apart. It all fell apart. So with pairing the employee to the employer, how often do you find that you try to match people's values together? Is there anything that goes into that type of thing, or maybe even the way that people think?
Yeah, man. Actually, so something that people can check out, it's called Universum.
Okay.
It's UNIVERSIUM. And it's a survey done with thousands of students across the country, asking them what makes them attractive or what makes employers attractive to them, what they're looking for in an employer. And one of the coolest things I love is most students are looking for employers that deal in values more. So no matter what major, no matter if they're going into be a programmer, or if they're going to work in nonprofit as a developer, all students want to be a part of a company that wants to make a difference.
Yeah.
So, and that can be everything from like, oh, we offer 10 hours of paid leave to go volunteer in the community, or we help sponsor a local Girl Scout troop, whatever it is, right? They want to see that a company is more aware of the community as a whole. And so that's one of the major things we see students looking for, no matter what they're looking at, which is really cool to see.
It is.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Do you find, and this is just strictly out of curiosity once again, but I know that there used to be it seems like in the early 2000s and maybe into the 2010s a little bit, there was a huge shift in corporate cultures to recruit new employees based on personality archetypes, like doing Myers-Briggs personality tests and stuff like that. Do you guys do anything with that stuff, or is that just completely defunct?
So we definitely do assessments, depending on what the student's really looking for. So like the Myers-Briggs and MBTI, we'll usually do that with juniors and seniors, maybe wanting to learn a little bit more about what careers are a good match for them. And then we have something that I really love. It's called Clifton Strengths Finder. It really focuses in on student strengths and how they can utilize those to what they like to say, manage around weaknesses. So it really empowers a student with what they do well. And where they can apply that to their career. So I'm more of a fan of that one. I mean, MBTI I think has its place. I think it's definitely a business thing, but I've seen a lot more people do the Clifton strengths now, and they'll even add their top like 5 strengths to their resume, which is really cool.
That is neat.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. So, not to completely shift gears on you here, but at UNC Charlotte, you also, for a time, managed the inclusivity and diversity career. What would you call it?
Inclusivity mixer, yeah. So it's like a cocktail mixer type of vibe.
Yeah, and it was on campus, and you had drinks there, or
on campus, but we had mocktails.
Mocktails?
Yeah.
Oh boy, that's interesting. So
Parties I don't go to.
Yeah.
You would come to my mocktail party. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's where recent
I'll have
Christian
a
ended
little
up.
tucked in the jacket.
Yeah. We're a firm believer in flasks, but so with all that stuff, tell me a little bit about that. So what got you into doing that, and then what was that experience like, and what did that bring to the UNC Charlotte community?
Sure. So, I mean, UNCC, when I got there about it'll be 4 years ago in June, June 2020. But I noticed there was no specific diversity career programming that was happening, at least not a large event that employers could come to, students could come to, all that fun stuff. So we came up with a mixer, and it's usually around 30 to 40 employers, a little over 200 students from a variety of backgrounds. Now, the way we define diversity at UNC Charlotte, and I wanted to do this personally, where it was like we talk about religion, political beliefs, age. Like we try to be all encompassing, right? So it's a really cool program where students can get together with employers, and we put employers through screening that I go through and basically stalk everything they have about them online.
Oh, yeah.
I look at Glassdoor, I look at LinkedIn, I look at their non-discrimination policies. So that way when students are coming in, they know that we've done some vetting, which is not common, honestly, for most career diversity events across career centers. But also, we help our employers. Because
Right.
most employers, like, right, you don't know the experiences that you're not seeing or that you're not a part of on a day-to-day. So that's where I step in. I'm like, hey, if you want to increase these applicants, then you should maybe look into doing these certain things on your website or your non-discrimination policy, those types of things.
There
Yeah.
you go. You should be a diversity consultant for large corporations.
Dude.
I've been told that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty good at basically
All you gotta
everything I
do
do.
is put an
so-
You're pretty good at everything.
gotta do is put
Except
an
booing
LLC
is
on the
Chewbacca. But you know,
Booing is Chewbacca
Yeah,
is
yeah,
not
you have to
a
work
skill,
on
that's my
that.
resume.
That's the one.
Put an LLC on the end of it and give me 10%. That's all I
There
ask
you
for.
go. There you go. We'll just do a little bit of kickback. A little bit of
Yeah.
kickback. You know, it is what it is.
I'll give you a little bit of kickback.
All right. We might be discussing some business over lunch here in a minute. So with all this diversity things, I mean, one of the things you were speaking about, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, so I'll just kind of set the ball up on the tee here for you. But what are employers looking for, and why are they looking for that? So just to kind of tee it up a little more for you, one of the things that you were talking about was how employers are really looking for first gen students. And then, Christian brought up a great point of, hiring people on their talent versus the demographic. But, your counter argument, which I think is very strange, was how certain people that match certain demographics, like, for example, a female in computer engineering or something, might feel a little overwhelmed with that presence. So can you explain a little bit about that and how that all plays into what you do, especially with the inclusivity and the demographic diversity differences?
Sure, and I agree. I love what Christian brought up, kind of like thinking through like hiring on that skill set, right? And that's definitely still the name of the game, right? You have to have the skill sets like to make it happen in the world of your work. So what we kind of do is we take into account like, traditionally technology careers are heavily male, they're heavily white male.
Definitely.
So it's thinking through like, is that space conducive to other people's life experiences or other people's understanding of the world?
Sure.
And so thinking through like, okay, if you're going to be a female now on a team of 7 guys, like what does that look like?
Yeah.
Whenever you're the only female and your experiences are completely different. So what we try to do is make students feel more comfortable and show like, while that might have been the case, like there are employers out there who have employee resource groups. And that really helps to make it feel more welcoming, like you can apply here. Because honestly, the hard part is getting people to apply sometimes.
Sure.
And that's what we kind of try to do, is to think through those different areas, give employers the branding tools, because there's a lot of employers doing cool stuff around diversity and being a welcoming space. And I know, like, I feel like now, especially like with like this idea of a snowflake and everything, like it's easy to be like, oh, it's just snowflakes, being like all sensitive.
Being sensitive.
But it's kind of like, I want to know, like, even me as like a gay guy, like I want to know, like I can go into a space and be myself. And like just with you guys today, I've talked to my boyfriend and stuff, but I feel super comfortable, right? With 2 heterosexual guys.
Yeah.
And I think that's what
that's the way it should be.
Exactly. That's
That's
the
the way I
it
wish
should
it was, period.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like I'm a simple person. Like I like it just.
Yeah,
to
you
be-
are. Real simple.
I like it just to be chill, man. Like
Minus his
like,
shirt.
My argument with you earlier was not even an argument really. My thought earlier was the fact that I just wish everybody could be completely hired off skill set and just not look at anything else. Like that's how simple I like things. That's I mean that's just how I am. But like you said, it's just not like that.
Yeah.
Sadly.
There's a lot of a dominance amongst certain demographic qualifiers in different fields, and I mean I think the computer engineering female is probably the best example of that. I mean I'd love to see the statistics on that. There's probably 1 female in that field for every 50 males or something. I mean, it's probably
Sadly,
ridiculous.
on this diversity and minority stuff, though, there's some major research behind the pass rate of the people that are let in with lower SAT scores and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Actually being way lower, like dropout rates being up as high as 50 and 60% because they're let in with a 1200 when everybody else is let in with a 1400.
Interesting.
So they're literally on a bell curve of 14 trying to survive.
So you mean like people are being let in like into this college?
Like, for example, that I don't remember the exact college, but at this X college, it was the average Asian American was let in with like a 14 something, and then the average African American was let in with a 12 something.
I see.
And then the average white male was let in with like a 1410. So they have all these people around them that were scoring 200 points higher on an SAT, and then you have the minority
seeking the
end
diversity
with
stuff.
1200.
Yeah.
How do you survive in that atmosphere?
It's true, and that's where like a lot of college campuses are trying to kind of help supplement those areas where people have not had access to different, tutoring things or after-school programs.
Yeah.
So colleges are really stepping up now to do things.
Yeah.
So like even our first-generation college students. So that's a really big hiring thing for employers. Because honestly, that's one reason I sell UNCC so well to employers. We have 40% first-gen. That grit and problem-solving that you have to have a lot of the times as a first-gen when you're kind of figuring out college and career all on your own.
That's actually a cool thought. So, like, what if everybody who was let in on a like minority/diversity scholarship or rating system, they took them through like a tutoring program before they actually like they had to be a part of a tutoring program to get launched in. That might help.
Yeah, and I mean, think about it. All of us have different parts of our identities, and I think that's what I love about diversity. I actually don't like the word diversity. I feel like it's kind of just like played out, and it's a buzzword. And I'm like,
for sure.
Inclusivity is more mine because a company can also be diverse, right? I can have a representation of everybody that I want at a company, but including them, right? They might be at the table, but are they allowed to talk? And I think that's like inclusion is more my thing. But all of us have parts of our identity that make us diverse and
Like
unique.
you have three
like
females, but you have 3 females, but they're all assistants.
Yeah, all assistants are, on typewriters or whatever Mad Men type experience.
Exactly.
I mean, it's a real
men are speaking.
thing. Yeah. It's an interesting thing. I will speak to UNC Charlotte as that as my alma mater, and Nathan was a first gen as well. So
really?
one of my best friends in the world. I promise you, he doesn't mind I say his name on here, but
I played soccer with him last night.
yeah,
nice.
he was a first gen student, and one of the things that is interesting about UNC Charlotte that I hope we see more in the future is that a lot of first gen students are given resources about preparing for college, and he was a part of a club that was strictly for first gen students. Like you couldn't join it unless you were a first gen.
Yeah, I think it's called UTOP.
Yep, that's right. That's right. Yep. So UNC Charlotte is the shit, is what we're getting at. So, needless to say. So one of the things we like to talk about is technology, forward thinking in the future. So what do you think is done very well on the premise of, I'll call it career matching with students at UNC Charlotte? And what do you think can be improved upon? Or if you're not comfortable saying improvement, what do you think is something that could happen that might make it a little better for everybody type of thing?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I think something we're doing really well right now is tailoring the experience of career development to students. And that helps employers, right? So we do things called like career meetups at UNCC, which are short 30-minute sessions. Information sessions are dead. So if you're thinking about doing an information session that you experienced in college, those are dead. Students don't come to them anymore.
Like here's a brochure.
Yeah. Yeah, here's a brochure. Here's our like 30-minute PowerPoint.
Yeah, they're
Go apply.
sleeping and everybody's on their phone and
Yeah,
not
they just
paying
don't
attention.
care. So now what we do is we do very specific. So it's just like they can tailor their phone to their experience of life.
Sure.
We tailor their career experience. So like we do stuff, these career meetups are like saving animals with your accounting degree, where we bring in an accountant from like Greenpeace to talk about how he uses his accounting degree to help animals and all that stuff.
That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
So
like niched all day.
very, yes.
Yeah.
So we might only get 5 students there, but I like to call them fireside chats. That might be 5 students, but those are 5 students that are really interested in what you're doing.
3 of you are probably going to apply for this position minimum.
Exactly.
Yeah, no kidding. You talk about the higher reception rate. Are there any lunch and learns and stuff like that, or people don't really care about those either?
We do lunch and learn still. We just had an artist in residence the other day doing lunch and learn during like the tornadoes that were happening around Charlotte. Students
geez.
still came.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
Brave
man.
students.
We
Brave
like rock it out. We do mock interviews where employers can hire students through them. We do tabling around campus. We get employers into classrooms. So we're really doing a lot of really cool programming. UNC Charlotte, I would argue, is one of the best career centers in the country. That's in big thanks to our leadership, who has allowed us to try things, go out in the community, be innovative. I do think where career centers across the spectrum are going to struggle hardcore, especially in the future, is the bringing in of technology into the recruiting process. We're already seeing that through like artificial intelligence in recruiting, like things like Hire Review and stuff like that. I was interviewed by CNN Business a few weeks ago about this, and it's a program that's cool. It can help with a lot of like entry-level sales marketing careers where they have to go through so many applicants because it measures their eye contact and they're smiling.
Oh, geez.
And the
That's
types
sketch.
of words they use. And then it gives them, here are your best candidates based off the criteria you
God.
set. It's
Kinda
really
scary.
bad. It
Kinda
is.
scary. Like,
and what does that do to a first-generation student who maybe
must smile
has
11 times.
issues?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Or like, what kills me, I'm like, but you can't read the heart. Like, right, in sales, it takes heart, and it takes, like, a certain person, and that's something you read off of somebody.
I'll never be that guy.
Christian's drooling over there. You're literally complimenting his part of work. He's talking about sales and the importance of sales. The idea of managing a salesperson really is make them feel like they're the most important person on the planet.
Because they are.
That's why we rock. That's why we got
there
it.
you go,
Christian,
there
you're the
you
most important person on the planet. I want that shirt.
You
By
can
the way,
have
that's
the shirt.
But he doesn't know where he got it from, so
Nope.
it doesn't help us at
Nope.
all.
Nope. I'm gonna Google
I
penguin
got it
shirt.
from the North Pole.
No. I'm gonna this podcast. I'm gonna do a side by side with Matthew's headshot, and then the other side is just gonna be a penguin.
You notice they're wearing.
No, actually, I'm gonna do that. So they'll be thinking you're a penguin or whatever.
You notice
I'm gonna
he's wearing.
take a
You
picture
notice
of
he's
you.
wearing skis, right?
A ski penguin.
A ski penguin.
You know that makes snow skiing even cooler.
He's a multi-talented penguin.
Yeah.
Well, oh my god. One of the things we were talking about earlier is the processing of data. So you were talking about and that's just what triggered my mind. Talking about the AI stuff. The AI stuff's really scary to me because I mean, it's easier for us to communicate with one another with cell phones, text message, and social media and everything else. But it seems like we're losing a lot of human connection. And I mean, I can't tell you if, for example, if I was interviewing you for a position, and
He would hire me.
yeah, I would hire you for sure. Like after the Chewbacca
That's why I
roar,
was asking what you did
like,
with social media. I was like, all right.
yeah, right. Hey, side hustle, lunch meeting. So,
Yes.
So, you know, I might be able to read the fact that you're nervous or not acting yourself, or hell, maybe you just had a rough night or something. You know, I mean, or maybe you had trouble getting here, 'cause it's snowing outside. There's a lot of environmental factors that is what scares me a little bit about, particularly the AI learning technology and stuff. One of the things we were talking about earlier was your career center at UNC Charlotte has a data person, I guess you said, and so you're able to give would-be employers and businesses some information about who attends these events. Can you touch on the value of that a little bit as well?
Sure. So we have first our institutional research at UNCC, which kind of gives us breakdowns of majors, enrollment, different identities, gender, race, those types of things. So we can break that down for employers when they start recruiting with us. And then if they do an event with us, we have an awesome data team.
How specific is that information? I mean, is it just like your 30-year-old white male? I mean, is it?
Yeah, it's very generic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if there was any interest thing like that. Like, for example, what political party you might be affiliated with, or
nothing
stuff.
like that. So the data that we pretty much gather will be the numbers of students in the major, what their breakdown is by gender, their breakdown by class year, so anywhere from freshman to senior, graduate student, yada yada, and then also breakdown of ethnicity.
Yeah.
So it kind of breaks down those lines. Those tend to, because that's information that they
School
gather.
clubs or none of that, or
None of that.
Okay.
So institutional research will pull data based on just the students who are enrolled. So those are questions that are on enrollment forms.
Gotcha.
But there's a lot of questions that are not on enrollment forms. Political parties, gender identity, sexual orientation, all those things are really just normally going to end up being self-disclosed.
Sure.
If a student wants to disclose them. Which is why if an employer wants to work with a certain group, we'll reach out to student orgs based on identities or
That's my next
interests and stuff. So that's kind of how we get those people connected. Now, and that the same thing goes for like when we're looking at students who attend events, we have the same basic information. So like we can tell them like, oh, these amount of majors attended. That's what more employers are interested in, is like what majors attended my event and how many students.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Because they're hiring for internships at a junior level. So like if they're getting a ton of freshmen, well, that wasn't a very successful event, even if they had 100 students there.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a good branding thing overall, but maybe not for the direct hiring they need at that moment. But that's where career centers, we step in, we try to help direct target marketing. We also have career communities, which students opt into through Hire a Niner, which is where students can go and apply for jobs, internships. Employers can create a free account, post as many jobs and internships as they'd like. But what we do with Hire a Niner is students choose a career community. So it could be what we've seen a really cool thing is like our IT majors, our computer science majors actually opt into the social impact, nonprofit, and education career community.
Huh.
So any employer that is hiring that's doing something on campus or that's hiring, they will get an email blast about what they're doing. So that's where those niche events really come in handy.
I don't know if this is part of this, but I got invited to do next year. I got invited to do it's like either a half or a full day workshop at App to teach digital marketing to the marketing, I guess,
majors or something like that. Yeah.
Cool. And basically, I got invited. Is that part of that? Is that what they're doing?
So the thing that employers will run into that will probably be a headache is every single system does it differently. Every school is different. It sounds similar though. Schools are moving towards this idea of bringing in professionals to teach.
Let's face it. You get a marketing degree today, it's 10 years behind.
For sure.
And that is the sad part is across majors. Is I hear that from employers and I've heard it from alumni. They're like, well, it was a helpful X, Y, and Z, but I don't
did you
use
learn
a
your
lot
digital
of it.
marketing skills in college?
No.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, what's relevant in today? Press release? No. Paper? No.
I can honestly tell you that I did learn some digital marketing techniques in college because I was the programming, aka party chair for my fraternity.
There you go.
So legitimately, I was on that OG Facebook, that old school students only throwing events and stuff. When
you were chatting back in the day,
dude, I'm like an OG Facebook man. That's the.
But you never took a class on it ever.
No.
You still won't take a class on it unless it's brought in by some CEO teaching it.
Right.
That's why App invited me, because they don't have a class on it.
Yeah. It's interesting. And one of the things is I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast and he was talking about how we have run into this thing in the last particularly 10 years where we went from a very small percentage of the population having a smartphone that worked to a ton of us, if not all of us, having some form of a smartphone. I mean, we can look up just about anything on, in a second on our phones. And so we see all these effects that there's no way we could have prepared for. One of them, for example, is how talk to any chiropractor and ask them about text message neck. It's where everybody's looking down into their phones. And so everybody's developing neck problems because your neck's supposed to have an upward angle to it. So,
all of us can now stretch out our necks.
Thanks a lot, Reese. Or you could talk about how
they even have there's even a market for those little beepers now. It beeps at you when you lean over.
Yeah, they have posture correctors. Yeah.
They're like $19. Somebody's a millionaire.
Yeah, no kidding. It's very interesting thing. I mean, especially as it adapts and it's just going so fast. I mean, Christian and I took a social media course 2 years ago, and probably only about 30% of it's applicable nowadays. I mean, everything's changed. All the interfaces have changed. All of the targeting things have changed. One of the big things that came out was special ad categories. And so if you were a real estate agent a year ago and you were marketing on social media, you were crushing it. Yeah. And now you just have to jump through all kinds of hoops and stuff.
There's literally no way a college can keep up with the educational system of marketing.
It's impossible.
There's no way. I'd almost think y'all need to start subcontracting that stuff out to marketing companies. Say, hey, I'm going to pay y'all a retainer. Slide the marketing people to a class or something, because it's just everything's new every year, something new every 6 months, something new.
It's hard, especially if you're teaching. If teaching is your full-time gig, right? It's hard to keep up with all the things that are happening.
Definitely.
I don't know how you would.
Yeah. It's really difficult, and that's I see a lot of our professors in our communications program too, who they're seeing the value in bringing in professional development in courses and requiring students to take them.
Yeah.
So that way they're bringing in people all the time from outside business or from outside the university who are working in the industry to teach them on topics. Yeah. Which is so valuable. I mean, and sadly, not all majors are jumping on that bandwagon. And that's where it worries me that a lot of majors that really do have good things to offer students in different areas, if they're not able to show, I mean, let's face it, in the end, if people go to college, which college isn't for everyone, but if people go to college, they want to make more money. Learning is awesome, but they want to make more money. And I think there is this disconnect for, one, what students need to know to be successful, but also knowing that a career is a part of this. It's not just learning.
Yeah.
And I like to think of with marketing and social media, I tell my students, I'm you need to have a side hustle. I was and it's the Darwinism of careers. If you cannot fluctuate and move and zigzag,
you have to keep learning.
Yeah, you will not make it.
That's why our campaign managers, we give them raises based off like level of certifications, like trusted certifications that we believe in that only focus on digital marketing. We have them learn them, and as soon as they pass the certification, they get a raise. Pass certification, get a raise, and it's like unlimited. Because I believe if you're knowledgeable, I want to hire you, and I want you to be smarter than me in campaign management because I want you to bring ideas to me. I don't have time to give you ideas and manage this and delegate this and do all this. I hire you because I think you're smarter than me at this, and I want you to continue to be smarter than me at this.
Yes, I mean but that's the way, and that's the way it should be done, right? Like I wish there was more emphasis across universities and across higher education in general of this idea of like we should be rewarding like students who are getting a lot more internships, or who are working part-time in their industry or in their profession they want to do. And it's just not that way. Higher ed, it needs to grow with like what employers need and also with the way things have changed, right? And that means past like the idea of like we're going to offer online classes. And I'm like, well, that's nice. But like, I mean, I teach online classes, so I love it. But I'm just kind of like there has to be a lot more information that like students need to have in order to be successful. I have a lot of students who come to me and they're like, well, I was told that I could get this job, but I wasn't told that I needed to have an internship. And now I don't have an internship and I'm a senior and I don't know what to do. I'm like, well, you're going to have to take an internship or something lower paid when you graduate then.
You're probably not going to like this, but I think that...
Here's the division. I guarantee it. Remember what I was talking about? We'll see.
So honestly, I think after like a year or two, after they learn their grammar skills on a higher level and they learn how to type and they learn their basic functions, I think at the year 1, year 2, people finally decide what they actually want to do, right? And then I think that's going to turn into like directed internships. Like no college education past that point. You want to do marketing? Great. We're going to get you an internship with VaynerMedia. And you're going to go and learn everything about that. And then they're going to come out of that knowing exactly what they want to do and how to do it. And then they're going to start. And they're going to be ready to go.
I told you this
I love
belief, by the way.
What?
I love VaynerMedia, by the way. I used to work with them in New York. Yeah,
and
they're
that
awesome.
works with anything. Like, and that is only thing it doesn't work with is like doctors and stuff like that. Because they have to have their base. They have to have their like strong base level of education so they can make their own decisions.
White collar professions in general.
And help. But all these other, everything else almost like PMI, marketing, campaign managers, CMO. It doesn't even matter what you want to do. Literally, internship. Are you telling me that a college can educate Bobby better than VaynerMedia can on digital marketing?
Yeah.
I definitely see that. So I see both sides. So this is where I kind of stand. Like as a first gen and all that stuff, and my experience dealing with students, there are some students who definitely are ahead of the game, right? Yeah. I work with a junior right now, and he blows my mind with his ability to simultaneously create Instagram and social media posts that have the company's flavor and brand to them, but a cohesive brand that fits within the Career Center. It's really impressive.
Yeah.
And he has learned that through, I think most of it is just kind of what you have, right? Yeah. And it just needs to be perfected a little bit. But there are other students I've worked with who are just like, they have to work at it more and they have to really try more. And see, I think that's where like an internship, while it's helpful, I hate to say it, but I feel like I've seen a lot of the times employers will be like, well, they're just not working out. As opposed to it's real, because it's going to take a lot of time to teach them. They're like, well, they're not working out, which AKA might mean that they don't have the skill sets they're looking for. So that's where like I think some of that stuff really comes in handy. And not to mention the problem solving. Like if you're taking a class, like one class I took was superheroes in U.S. media. You're like, what the hell?
Sweet.
What does that have to do with anything,
that's
right?
Pretty cool.
But it was a comm class, and what it did is we would look at films and be like, we watched Hancock, and it was like, what does Hancock say about black exploitation? What does it say about marketing? Let's look at the breakdown of the box office. So like that type of stuff is where we look at the marketing of it, and we look at like why certain things work. And we could definitely learn that through VaynerMedia. But is VaynerMedia going to have a whole like let's look back at past box offices to see what future people might spend?
Yeah, I don't know. Gary Vee made a point on this. He said that he thinks it's going to be a reverse paid internship. So like instead of the company paying the intern, they think the intern or some kind of government subsidy is going to pay the company to actually have a training program.
That's possible. And I could see something like that happening. Companies are paying to go to college campuses now. Allstate comes to UNCC.
But we know, like in our like hiring people, we've noticed if somebody doesn't have like some sort of degree or some base level degree, like their productivity is just so much lower, and it's just like the base level skills like typing, like that's one.
Grammar,
typing kills us. Like if you type 20 words a minute, like you literally are. If you can be the best at everything, you're now 1/3 as fast as your neighbor.
Yeah. Yeah. It is interesting. I mean, there's no denying. Nobody could deny that our current system of education is quite antiquated, and it needs a lot of help. And especially as quickly as the world is turning and all the new pieces that come into play. I mean, maybe the internships. The Gary's idea of having somebody pay to essentially get on the job experience or some type of trade experience. I mean, maybe that's the future. Maybe it's a little bit more communal. So instead of having a lecture hall with 100 students facing a professor and the professor just talking, maybe it's a little bit more of sharing experiences or something like that. I mean, I don't know. I do think that due to how large our universities are, the system will take a long time.
Think
to
about the
change.
communication there too. Like if it's reverse paid and y'all are paying companies to do that, now they're communicating with the college campus to make sure the requirement level education is more up to date.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the companies are actually giving you the up-to-date information y'all need to keep your curriculum up to date on all these pieces because they want them to hit the requirements so that they're successful in the internship program.
Yeah.
Totally. And I've seen what we do at the Career Center is we kind of help bridge a little bit where we try to be like, this is what we see from employers and what they're asking for, and this is what they say that they're maybe struggling in.
Yeah.
So what we're starting to see is like newer programs that are being greenlit by the state for UNCC. They're integrating employers and talking to employers. And I think a lot of it, like, I don't know if a university ever paying would honestly happen just because the desire for talent is so there and they're starving for some of these areas like data analytics, a lot of your computer science, engineering, they're just kind of starving for a lot of them. So like, they're so excited to be a part of like creating the curriculum with faculty.
Yeah.
But again, the hard part is like what UNC Charlotte does is going to be completely different from what Chapel Hill does.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Standardization.
Yeah, and it needs to be a little more like standardized. And the places I think that, and I mean I work for a university, but I'm waiting for the bubble to burst on higher education of like there's too many universities and colleges. Like what's going to happen? And I think the ones that are going to succeed are going to be the ones that be like they've integrated career development with curriculum with employers, and that's the ones that are going to succeed because they're going to have the best job and higher rates.
And you also have a lot of micro and macro influencers fighting against y'all right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, you get a lot of YouTube videos about how college isn't worth it and stuff. My last comment for the day will be, I think it is very unfortunate that there exists a huge disconnect between employer and employee and the interim space, which is higher education of any type, whether it's undergrad, grad school. It's really a shame because one of the biggest travesties of internships is that the students, although they are inexperienced, they're giving their time and they're not compensated for it. So you get experience, which might make you better for the next job, but in the meantime, you're suffering and working at the fast food restaurant down the street or whatever else. I mean, there's only so much time in the day. Matthieu, thank you so much for joining us today. Before we get going here, let's all give, I forgot to give one of my favorite people in the world a shout out, Mr. David Woodruff with Genesis Film TV, our videographer. Give him a hand. We loves you. We loves you.
Gave some love.
Matthieu French, our guest today, the career superhero at UNC Charlotte. I always like to ask somebody a really funny, silly question before we get off air here, but this is going to be my funny question for you. So if you were going to be a character in Star Wars that's not Chewbacca, who do you choose and why?
Oh, okay. I'm going to go... Now and I'm like, down a little bit.
I'll give you a second.
Man, I think I would choose the little dudes with the, like, what are they called?
Ewoks?
Yeah, that's
You
who
would be
I'd
an Ewok.
I'd be like,
No. You know who you'd be? You'd be Jar Jar Binks.
Oh yeah, dude, that tongue, bro.
Be like, Misa.
That's like my favorite character. I forgot all about him.
Risa. Oh, look at what I got you.
I about
today.
died when he struck his tongue out and grabbed that apple.
Yeah.
I was like, yes.
Yeah. Yep. I think I'd be Baby Yoda.
Aw, that's so sweet though.
Yep.
I'm probably gonna go with C-3PO.
Okay.
Okay.
I like his flamboyancy. I'm like here for it. I'm like, there you go. And like, he's a little bit of a worrywart.
Yeah.
But he's also not afraid to be like.
So what are the odds he was voiced by a gay man?
I don't know. See, this is the funny part. Like,
I think he was.
Was he?
Yeah, I think so.
See,
not 100%.
Because you said you noticed the
flamboyancy.
Yeah.
I mean, I just love it, and I'm like, as they call it, like in the
Danger,
communication,
danger.
they're like encoding on like things. So as a kid, it spoke to me. Chewbacca just sounded more fun.
Our guest today, Mr. C3PO. Matthieu, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, fellas, for
today.
having me. I had fun.
It's great.